Hey guys, welcome to Across the Line. As you can see, this is a special episode of the show. It's community quarantine in the Philippines, pretty much all over the world right now, but we're going to do our best to provide you guys with sort of an update of how things are going in the world of football, not only here in the country, but all over the world during these trying times. We get a chance to speak about how things are going with the league, how things are going with the academy, and some things that you might be able to do while on community quarantine. If you like this episode, if you like the content that we provide here on Across the Line, please do subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to rate and review and to spread the word to all of your friends. Happy Football Friday. Welcome to this edition of Across the Line. As you can see, not our usual studio setup today. It's a special episode in that it's our first one while the community quarantine is ongoing. It's a strange situation, but we're hoping that we still get an opportunity to speak about football and talk about the things that are ongoing inside the community. And we hope you come along for the ride with us. If you like the content that we produce on the show and we provide here on Across the Line, don't forget to subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. How's it going, Chris?
I'm okay. Just trying to get to grips with the community quarantine. Pretty bored, to be honest with you. No football on, nothing to do. So trying to find ways to get our football fix. So obviously we're trying to record this program from the confines of our own houses. Just a quick disclaimer before we actually get going. If the sound quality is a little bit iffy, please bear with us. We're obviously recording it from iPhones and headsets from our own devices. So please apologize in advance for any kind of sound deficiencies that you might experience compared to the usual service that we provide. Obviously we're 2 days into it. This is the third day now. Missing football, it seems like it's impacted on pretty much every aspect of the game. On the domestic front, obviously you managed to squeeze out your AFC Cup third round match in Indonesia, but upon coming back, you've actually self-isolated straight from Indonesia, didn't you? So as soon as you got back, you were straight in the isolation booth. Yeah,
it's day 6 for me officially. Since we traveled, it's probably the wise thing to do. Obviously, still able to do one episode, which is probably ill-advised, and went straight into isolation after that. It's been 6 days since. It's a ghost town, absolute ghost town here in Green Hills. So a little bit strange. Doing our best to not feel so cooped up. It's just myself and my wife. I don't know. It's tough, finding ways to entertain yourself, to stay busy, to stay relevant in some shape or form. And this is a big one for me, actually. It's therapeutic to actually be having an opportunity to keep going with Across the Line.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me. Like, obviously, I'll talk about the youth segment a little bit, because that was one that's been severely hit, obviously, with all the cancellations of practice, the postponement of the youth leagues, and with a lot of the kids are already being off school. It's really hit home in the youth football community here. Many kids are trying to find ways and creative ways to keep getting their touches in, trying to keep fit. So we've been sending out homework. I've got a fun exercise that I'm going to send out to the guys today. I had to actually do the demo. So I had to dust my boots off and do a little bit in my driveway today. So let's see how that pans out when we send it out to the kids. And then trying to figure out other ways in which we can keep them engaged. So just for an example, the other day I sent out a template of a football uniform, and had the kids design their own soccer uniforms, which was quite nice, actually. Came back with some very creative ideas. I think some of the big guns might be out of business pretty soon with some of the creative designs that they produced. But no, I guess from my perspective, and I'm sure from a lot of other coaches' perspectives, just trying to think of fun and engaging ways to keep the kids inspired and getting their touches in what's obviously a very, very difficult scenario for everyone.
it's kind of a similar situation for me. Obviously, in charge of all the content for Kaya's social media accounts, and there's nothing to shoot. There's nothing to take pictures of. There's really it's very difficult to create the content. So we're just figuring out ways, and hopefully we'll be able to contribute, workouts and little things and activities that people can do at home as well to stay busy, because I think we're all going to get sucked into our phones during this community quarantine, and it's not exactly the healthiest thing to be stuck looking at your screen for hours and hours and hours. So I think it's one of the key things is to figure out ways to keep the body moving, and it's going to be a challenge for everyone involved during this
Yeah.
time. Obviously, football has
Any
grinded.
updates from the league? Uh,
Yeah, I was
um,
just about to get to that. Actually, it's
Jing, any updates from the? Yeah.
there was a meeting actually shortly after the podcast that we recorded with the boys from Kaya Academy, headed over to the PFF to talk about what are going to be the guidelines that we're going to follow. There was a lot of discussion during that time, but of course the government came out and imposed sort of this nationwide community quarantine. So the league has postponed. There will be no launch, no start of the league on the 21st of March, and there is no date being set yet as to when the league will begin.
Mhm.
Everything is being taken day to day, and we'll have to see how things develop. Obviously, with a 14-day incubation period, it might be a while before things settle down. Individuals who might have come into contact with other infected individuals who were asymptomatic over the last week or so will only begin to show signs 14 days from now. And that means that they might have come in contact with other people while they were feeling confident that they were not infected. They will be out there hanging out with family members, with friends. And I imagine that this is going to drag out well into April. And we're likely not going to see anything until May. Now, that's my prediction. Now, I'm hoping
Mm.
it's not going to come to that. Hopefully, there will be some football to be had in April. But for sure, we've sent out letters personally for Kaya to AFC, for example. We're supposed to have an AFC Cup match on the 15th of April. We've basically come out and said that's impossible. I mean, the community quarantine is until April 13 or 14. The guys are not even training. You're not allowed to train. You can't come
Yeah.
together in any sort of public forum, any sort of public way. So the guys are just desperate to try to stay fit. I mean, they're not going to be able to train with one another. So it's going to impact the game in a large way. Definitely in terms of preparations and staying fit, it's going to be a real challenge.
So with regards to the Kaya players, I'm just quite interested. Is someone giving them like a program that they need to follow at home, or is the onus just on the players to try and keep themselves fit? Any insights with regards to that, Jing?
So the PTs, Jolo and Josh, have been charged with coming up with a fitness program. Obviously, there are a few things that you have to hit there, conditioning, agility, strength, staying limber. All of those things are being taken into account, and they're rolling out the program as we speak. I'm actually looking forward to jumping in on that as well.
Okay.
Just trying to stay fit myself at home. And hopefully we can share that with the followers and get them involved in trying to, stay fit as well during the community quarantine.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the biggest issues, isn't it? I mean, how are you going to test for those sort of things? I mean, not everyone has a weights bench, or you know, not everyone has a rack of dumbbells in their home. It's difficult, and I'm assuming a lot of the guys were they all still in the metro, or some of them gone back to their provincial homes in order to be with their families.
Yeah, quite a few actually went back to the province, needed to be around family during this time. I think it's probably better for them. Obviously, there was a bit of a risk there with, potentially carrying and spreading the virus over there, but, they had to weigh it personally for themselves. It was a personal decision for them to want to be around family in this difficult time. Again, we don't know how long it's going to be. So I think it's important for a lot of them to be around their family during this time. So some of them are lucky. Mike Casas, for example, is next to a football pitch. He lives near a football pitch, so he's been able to get some touches in and getting some workouts in on the grass. So I mean, that's great for him, but not everybody is so lucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually been one of the problems we've experienced in the metro. Like, without um, sort of downplaying obviously the virus, but a lot of the parks obviously shut down or community areas have shut down, which has meant that people aren't able to even get in an exercise regime, which is a little bit disappointing. Like, I would like to see some facilities remain open so people can kind of go out and at least get sample the fresh air and actually get in some kind of workout. My sort of nervousness with regards to a lot of this is if we don't remain active and we don't keep our immune system high, is when we do come out of this community quarantine, as you alluded to, we are going to be susceptible to all kinds of other viruses, and including this one, to, like you said, people who are asymptomatic. So that for me is a little bit of a concern. The majority of the people in our academy, they typically live in BGC or McCarthy area, which is in itself there's very limited green space or opportunities to get out there and get in a decent workout. I live in a village which has fortunately a little bit more space where we can kind of ride the bike or take the scooter out, but I do worry about that when we sort of come out of the community quarantine, that people haven't been able to keep themselves ticking over, and you're going to make themselves susceptible to either like you said, people who are asymptomatic, or just picking up other AIDS and illnesses because of the fact that they haven't been active for 2 to 3 weeks, or even longer, depending on how long this quarantine lasts for. So obviously really, really alarming, and hopefully people can get a creative workout in whatever way they can, because the last thing we want is for people to suffer at the hands of this virus. But obviously we understand that they're trying to keep everyone, and flattening the curve is a phrase that's come out a lot recently. So that seems to be the primary objective at the moment. So let's hope that the people who are involved in the healthcare community and the government are making the right call with this. Let's see.
Yeah. One of the things that has become very apparent is that people are freaking out that there's nothing to watch. You get to see really the impact that football has had on a lot of people's lives. I mean, they rely on it on a regular day basis, and all the leagues have really shut down. They've gone to a halt, and obviously it's out of necessity. I just heard that Euros has been pushed back to 2021. Obviously the leagues, we don't know when they're going to begin. But one of the strange things is that, if I'm not mistaken, the Singapore League has continued. They seem to have a good handle on things over there, and they're playing the games behind closed doors. So for those that are looking for just a little bit of entertainment, look up the SPL. One Play Sports is doing a good job of covering the games over there and providing highlights, and at least you get your fix of your goals and a bit of skill and a bit of action. That's somewhere that you can go to for that football fix that people are looking for.
I've also seen that Adam Reed is still playing in Malaysia. His teams have still been playing games. Yeah, I think they've just recently gone on a break now, but they were playing as recently as this week. So I'm not sure if they've stopped it recently. I know we went on a mini break, but I think that league had been ongoing for a fairly extended period. So I think people are going to be limited, aren't they, in getting their football fixes. I think some people I know in Australia have still been playing at certain levels, but in terms of the big leagues, Premier League, La Liga, French League, Serie A, total lockdown. We're interested to see what's going to happen, because obviously a lot of people are clambering for a league postponement because no one wants to see Liverpool win the league in the UK. But you said the Euros pushed back. I've actually had different stories, but whether or not that's been confirmed, I'm not sure. But the Euros look set to be definitely pushed back, and whether or not the league, for example, the Premier League, might continue into the summer, which is something that's been discussed, and they just extend it and have to push the break back and then push the start of next season back. That's a possibility. There's a possibility they're going to write it off completely. We're uncharted waters here, really. We don't really know how this is all going to play out, how long it's going to last for. But there's certainly going to be some severe footballing repercussions, whatever happens for the remainder of this 2020 season.
if you were to recommend a match that people can look back on, any match
Uh-huh.
that you would recommend that people, I mean, obviously they're looking for ways to entertain themselves. Is there a match that comes to mind for you that, hey, look up this game, have a watch, enjoy it, whether it's because of the drama or the skill or whatever it is? Is there one that comes to mind for you?
You know what? I don't know if it's online, but I remember I was actually at the game. I watched it. So if you're looking for a local or domestic fix,
Mm.
the Loyola Kaya game was it 5-4 or 6-5? Was it that one? The UFL Cup game. I actually
Yeah,
came to watch that. I actually came to watch that game because I think I was in town for the LA Galaxy game, and then I went to Rizal to watch it, and it was like 3 or 4 nil at half time, wasn't it? And then it got to like 6-5, was it? It finished 6-5 to Loyola or 5-4 to Loyola, something like that.
yeah, something crazy. That's right. That was there was a goalkeeping change in the middle of that at
Yeah,
halftime because Kaya was
yeah,
so confident, and
yeah,
yeah, definitely worth a watch that one.
yeah. So that
Yeah,
was a dramatic one for anyone who hasn't seen that particular game. Any sort of UFL classics that I can think of. I mean, I have to say the Archers game. If someone can get it, let me know because I scored the overhead kick in the 94th minute, and everyone thought that that was game over. Only for them to equalise in the 95th minute, 3-3. That was quite an eventful game. Um, Other games, sort of back in the day. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, there were loads. That sort of UFL period was quite interesting. Like, if anyone gets a chance to see what it was like, even the UMAC days, sort of even before I was here, there's some
yeah.
really fun matches. With a vibrant crowd. Some old faces looking a little bit little younger, fresh faced. That might be quite a nice sort of reminisce down, memory road and memory lane. I think those ones will be nice for some of the Philippine public to engage in. In terms of sort of like classic games, I remember growing up, like some of the really big summer tournaments, World Cup. I remember the Argentina England game was one of the most dramatic games I think I've ever watched. Argentina ended up going through on penalties, but it was infamous for the David Beckham red card. Um,
When he kicks out, that's
yeah, when he
right.
kicks out at Simeone, that was always a game that will stand out in my memory. Um, Michael Owen was probably 17, 18, burst on the scene, scored one of the all-time classic World Cup goals. Um, I remember Argentina scored this very intricate, pre-planned free kick routine. Super, super execution from Zanetti, just banged it in from 18 yards out after a really clever sort of short, quick, sharp into play. Then the game went to extra time. England scored. Sol Campbell, I think it was, scored a header. The goal was disallowed. Then they're all still celebrating while Argentina's attacking down the other end of the field. Then of course England goes out on penalties, normal. Uh, Part of the course, pretty much for me growing up.
Quick
Other classic
question:
games up. Yeah.
was that Diego Simeone, the coach of Atletico Madrid now? Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So that's a good one. As along similar lines, the England-Portugal game was quite a similar one where Wayne Rooney
Oh yeah.
lashed out and Ronaldo got into it. That was quite
Bit of a
very
wink.
similar. England go out. Yeah, the wink. Yeah, England go out again on penalties. Actually played quite well. Same story. Pretty much how I remember most of like the 90s, early 2000s watching England. So there's some classic games. Azkal games, yeah, I've been part of many classic Azkal games. YouTube's littered with some of the classic Suzuki Cup games from yesteryear. So
Mm.
if anyone wants to, go through those archives, there's a treasure trove of classic Azkal moments. So anything sort of 2010 onwards, there's some really really good games for guys to latch onto. Premier League ones, yeah, some real classic ones. Probably the most iconic one would be the Man City last day of the season victory
Oh,
against QPR. That's probably the one that everyone, or
nobody wants to relive that, Prince.
most memorable, probably an iconic Premier League moment, unfortunately. But that's that one. I would probably suggest people Yeah, type that one into YouTube and that'll get the goosebumps going for sure. Absolute classic.
So there you go. I mean, lots of suggestions there. I mean, if you are thirsting, hungry for a game of football and some nice drama, some nice entertainment, there's some matches for you to look up for. The good thing is during this community quarantine is the internet. What a blessing, right? I mean, there is a treasure trove of things to look at, so many things to learn, to entertain yourself with, and to just keep the mind active during this time. So definitely look into that. And we appreciate everybody who's listening into this. And hopefully, we've somehow contributed to making life easier during this community quarantine. Thanks for the time, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, if you guys like this episode and the content that we provide here on Across the Line, please do subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcast. Enjoy the rest of your Football Friday, guys.